Welcome back guys to a brand new video. Now today we have a really exciting video to talk about because obviously Lost Colony is coming in literally 17 days time, and it is obviously building up to a very exciting end of year DLC launch, the first story DLC we have had since Genesis Part 2 back in 2021. So this is really exciting for a lot of ARK players out there, whether you're just playing for the first time or whether you've been around for 10 years. This is a really exciting time for ARK players. So if you guys do enjoy today's video, drop a like and subscribe because we are going to be talking about thralls. Now, I saw this in my other video, wanted to do some research, and I have that research for you guys, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's get in with the video, and thank you for all the support. Right, so some of you may be thinking, Dom, what are you going on about thralls? Where have you seen this? Why did this video come into your mind and everything like that? So the first reason this video came to mind was obviously we found out from a interview with Ross Clark and Jeremy, the co-founder of Studio Wildcard, that there's going to be a version of NPC raid bases in the Lost Colony DLC. Now, obviously, the first time we heard about potential NPCs officially for ARK was for the launch of ARK 2. But the devs have talked about how there's many features from ARK 2 that have actually been implemented in ARK Survival Ascended as kind of a tester, will this be good in preparation for when ARK 2 launches. So when ARK 2 launches, it will be an even better and more updated version. That's not saying Lost Colony won't still be good, but it's as the technology changes over time, it will just keep getting better for the launch of ARK 2. So the reason I saw this is because the Soulwind just got announced on Friday, and I was reading through stuff. Obviously we were like checking out the Malwind, the Osidon, the Soulwind, and I was expecting to obviously see Veilwind, and then I saw Thrall, and I was like, what on earth is Thrall? Now, for anyone that played Conan Exiles quite a lot, which I didn't, unfortunately, I know there's a lot of people that did and really enjoyed it. If I'm correct, Thrall is the NPC, is some form of NPC in Conan Exiles. And then I did some even more digging to find out that this is already even being talked about by the devs themselves to PC Games N in an interview. So this is where the pieces of the puzzle has all been put together, because the devs have talked about it already before. Then it was talked about in the interview with Ross Clark, and that is what Thrall is. Now, I know a lot of people have done some, like, sort of, since I made my video, shout out to King Dragon and stuff. I know a lot of people have put down Thrall as this new creature that's coming out, but I don't actually think Thrall is this new creature. I think it's the NPCs coming to ARK Survival Ascended, and I will explain that just any second now. You'll see it in the next part, but there is still another creature on top of the Thrall that are coming. And like we mentioned in yesterday's video, this new vampire-like creature. Right, so there was an interview back in July, I think it was, and it was with PC Games N, and it was with some of the devs. It was Jesse and Jeremy. So it was ARK Survival Ascended. Lost Colony is built on huge new features like NPC thralls, and it looks like this page has just broken, probably because of the amount of adverts that these outlets put on their pages these days. But anyway, so basically they went and said it's a milestone year for ARK, and Studio Wildcard is ensuring it's a memorable one, celebrating the franchise's 10th birthday. Very nice of Snail Games to give us Aquatica this year. Can we put that in the past and forget about it? We've already seen ARK Survival Ascended add the remastered Ragnarok DLC to its suite of expansions and received an engine upgrade. The original game, ARK Survival Evolved, is also getting an unexpected new expansion. I was hoping we weren't going to have to read that. But the icing on the birthday cake will be Lost Colony, the first all-new expansion for ASA, which is set to drop in December. And in an exclusive interview with PC Games N, Studio Wildcard co-founders Jesse and Jeremy reveal what it's like to finally inject some original content into Survival Ascended and discuss some of the new features and innovations the highly anticipated DLC will bring. ARK Survival Ascended is already heavy with the remastered expansions, and Ragnarok is the latest, adding one of ARK's biggest and most beautiful maps, alongside a host of iconic creatures. Its debut in ASA has resulted in a healthy uplift of players. However, for many ARK fans, it's the world they've seen before, and that's why the prospect of Lost Colony is so exciting. When I asked Jeremy why thousands of players still haven't made the jump from ASE to ASA, one of the 3 core reasons he gives, alongside tech restraints and time invested in the original game, is that they want to see something properly new. They actually want a reason creatively to reinvest their time. He says, well, the next expansion will give them just that. People are starting to get just a little taste of it now with the Lost Colony expansion pass we released alongside Ragnarok, says Jesse. The pass adds a few gameplay mechanics and creatures to the game that will feature in the full release of the expansion, but more on those later. It's just the tip of the iceberg. The whole map and all the new content coming later is, I think, really going to blow people away in terms of furthering the ARK story and tying it into what we plan to do later with these characters in ARK 2 and beyond. Previously, the only really truly original content we had released for ASA was Bob's Tall Tales, which was more like a gameplay feature set. Jeremy adds, it's like, here's some cool new items and creatures, but there wasn't a new world or a new story. Very, very true. Given this radical switch from remastering old content to creating something fresh for the same game, I asked if Studio Wildcard has suffered any whiplash from it, or if it's been an enjoyable experience. It's really about dusting off the old creative skills that the team's been using for more short-term improvements, but now thinking more long-term about how we create a whole new world, whole new map, whole new creatures, and new storytelling elements. That's been really rewarding, Jesse says. It's something the team has been looking forward to for a long time, and to be honest, so have we. Like, I am so over the moon for the launch of Ragnarok this year. For the launch of Valguero, I enjoyed. I still think it's a great map, but it wasn't my favourite one. It was from my least favourite map, but I still think it's beautiful in ASA. So excited for Fjordur and many other maps, and, you know, the Genesis maps. But I do feel like when you move to the next generation, you know, we're in 2025, and we really should have moved maybe onto a whole new game. When I think about what they should have maybe have done instead, is maybe have just done ARK Survival Ascended as kind of the new ARK 2, and then done ARK 2 in the future. That's a whole different game. Rather than remastering ARK Survival Evolved from the ground up, why not just leave that to be what it was? And I never really thought of it in that way, but as time has gone on, I have thought to myself, I still really enjoy what they've done with the old maps massively. It's been beautiful. But I do question, was that the right decision to take? And I wonder if they still think it is? I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. I reckon it's probably kind of a 50-50 or a 60-40. But anyway, apart from that, we're on to a new chapter, which I'm sure they've really enjoyed doing. And they said we're expanding the way we tell stories in the game. Recently, we got a new mocap facility set up at our Seattle office. We've been diving into Unreal's new metahuman toolsets for some of our characters in-game. Jeremy has been getting a lot of our voice talent from the ARK animated series and other areas to reprise their roles in the game. And our returning talent has been very excited to come back and voice new content for this expansion. The team is having great fun building up Lost Colony from the concept phase up, unbounded from what we did before in ARK Survival Evolved. Plenty is already known about Lost Colony. As Jesse alludes to, it'll feature iconic characters and their famous voice actors from ARK the animated series. We know that it will take place on a Rat Prime, a frozen planet that loreheads will have learnt about a few times over the years, and we know that it will tee up the story for ARK 2, the ambitious sequel that Jeremy tells me may still be a couple of years away, which, as I've talked about before, we're looking at early 2027 for ARK 2 at this moment in time. As mentioned, with the Lost Colony expansion pass dropping alongside Ragnarok, players can go hands with some of the new gameplay changes early, blah 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 blah. I mean, yeah, really cool stuff that we already know about, but Even though they go on to say this may have serious long-term meta game impacts to how ARK works, Lost Colony adds a skill tree, which is an entirely new concept in ARK, but obviously exists in other games like Path of Exile, Jeremy says. But to really do that in a thorough way in ARK means going off in a very new direction. As for what else is arriving in December, Jeremy teases an unannounced feature making its debut in Lost Colony. It has been requested for a fair amount of time over the years, and it's core component of fellow survival game Conan Exiles. One of the ideas in Lost Colony is NPC thralls that you can sway to your side, and the idea of being able to assemble an army in that way is something we've really not experimented with in ARK, he tells me. We're really trying to deal with human antagonistic NPCs in that space as well. So it'll be very experimental. Some of it relates to things we also intended to include in ARK 2. It's to some extent a way of seeing what works and what doesn't before. You know, an entirely new sequel that really can't afford to miss with some of its mechanical. But yeah, this is basically a lot of the stuff that was in Clark's interview. How have I missed this? I actually think I've missed this interview. This was 4 months ago. I must have talked about this. I don't actually think I did. So Lost Colony affords us a slightly less monumental way of having to experiment with some of those types of mechanics. Wow. So NPC Thralls is exactly the name that Jesse and Jeremy have used themselves. Speaking more broadly, Jesse notes that the world of ARK Prime is also constructed around new types of gameplay we're putting into Lost Colony that haven't existed before in ARK. Despite all of Wildcard's efforts to push ARK gameplay forward and make Lost Colony a generally new experience that could draw more players over to Survival Ascended, Jeremy knows that it's important that the team doesn't lose sight of ARK's roots. We're a creative survival game, he says, definitely. So there's got to be some really cool tames. They have to be important to how the map works and how traversing the map and to surviving the map. That always has to be there. But with that kind of framework, what can we do to make the game experience more layers and depth that doesn't necessarily take away from the creature aspect? As mentioned, ARK Survival Ascended's Lost Colony expansion is due to launch in December 2025, which is December 16th, and it's arguably the most important moment for Studio Wildcard since ASA launched. Not only for the impact it might have on that game, but how it will crack the door open to give us a glimpse of what ARK 2 could be, both in terms of its narrative and gameplay evolutions. So yeah, that is pretty much everything from this. That was an article from Jamie Hoare, and I thought it was a really good one. I feel mind blown that I forgot that this was even a thing, or I didn't even read this, which is such a. I mean, I scan the internet for anything ARK, and I find it so crazy that I didn't see that. But the fact that NPC Thralls look to be pretty much confirmed coming to ARK Survival Ascended, I would go ahead and say 100%. We don't know whether they'll be called Thralls, they'll probably be called something else, but Jeremy even mentioned it in the interview of Clark, and this was even talked about 4 months ago. So, guys, we're about to experience a whole new world in 17 days. I'm excited, I'm sure many of you guys are too. Thank you very much for watching, I'll catch you in my next one, and see you guys then.